Hello again, and welcome to a town called Bastard. I am him, Neill, and this is Crusader Kings II. We are playing to the Karling restoration to get the House of Karling back on the throne of Western Europe somewhere, probably France. Not much was happening towards the end of the last episode, so I'm just going to speed it up a bit. We're just waiting to die so I can become my son and then my grandson, Duke of Anjou. I think I'll keep that to myself. I'm really doing a good job discouraging the Duke of Flanders from joining any factions, which is wonderful, just what I've always wanted. I'm mainly passing time, so it's nice that these occasional events happen. There's a bard who's visiting. I can either become cynical, even more cynical than I already am, so I'm pretty cynical, or I can threaten him, or I can offer him to stay. I quite like more intrigue, and everyone already hates me, so I'm going to go with that. The two options there, I could have done something that would make a bishop either like me or dislike me, depending on the options that I went for. I wouldn't have found out which he'd prefer until I did it. Although I could probably guess by going to the bishop's portrait and seeing what kind of things he likes. Just having a look over here, the Duchess of Tuscany, Matilda, is having a bit of a trouble here since going independent. There's a Genoese holy war for Modena, a Bolognian holy war for Modena, an Orvietan holy war for Tuscany, a Ferraran holy war for Tuscany. Wow, she's being Waldensian isn't working out for her. So I think I'm just going to dogpile and take Macon. That would be quite nice. So I'm sure the Duke of Burgundy won't like me for it, but he already doesn't like me. So I'm just going to take that land. So I can do that because they're heretics. Sadly for the Count of Macon, he wasn't a heretic before, but now he is. So now his lands are just forfeit. How many troops should Tuscany have? I probably will be safe taking it because Tuscany's having a bit of issues. But I don't even know if I have enough troops to besiege it down, because I need a good... What's that? 1.6 thousand, and I might lose some during the siege, so I might invite someone to help me. Probably the Duchess of Berry, my wife, seems appropriate. She's right next to me as well. So she can help. My marsh is dead. Shocking. You married to someone? No, you're not married. You can marry someone. You can marry this Scottish courtier. Obviously the people in the game are a bit of an abstraction. Unlike with other things, the game is just covering such a vast concept and set of things. The courtier is always basically assumed to be the nobles or the more important people. Not strictly nobles, because the patricians and republics aren't nobles per se. The Countess of Amiens is wandering all the way over Tuscany to help me with Macon. That's lovely. They're not nobles, they're just sort of jumped up burghers. That's burghers with a H, meaning sort of peasantry, merchanty, wealthy people rather than nobles per se. So, but even their court is supposed to represent the more important people. There's more than 17 people in the court of Genoa. Yeah, murdering him sounds fine. Maybe I'll get it down to the daughters at last. He knows. Well, time to kill another duke. Can't spy on him, so he's not an adult. Shit, sadly. Can I get people to kill him? Well, I have a bit of gold now, 1,000 odd, so I could spend a bit to ensure his death. Might as well, I could do with a backup. I'm going to now plot in Burgundy, in Dijon, to try and make sure that happens. Let's see how that happens. Ooh, another good trait, brave, wonderful. I can also praise his bravery to everyone. I mean, he'll gain some prestige. He's been named after me, interestingly. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Naming in this is when done by the AI is quite interesting. And then the suggestions you get when you have a son. Or a daughter. Based on the culture, there's a chance of children inheriting their parents' name on their grandparents' name. So my grandson had a good chance of inheriting my name and being named that by the AI. It's different for males and females, and it's different by culture. But it's just quite a nice thing, because it means that dynasties do tend to keep names in the family, and sometimes a new name will appear from nowhere, and then will suddenly start being propagated. I've not even had a son yet, so I can't demonstrate what that's like, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually. Wow. He's becoming zealous. Now, as I see it, he's making me see the error of my ways. He's already made me kind. So I'm going to stop being cynical in order to make him zealous. Again, zealous is another amazing trait. Increases his piety by 1 every month, which is an awful lot. It's more than you can get from most other things you can do. And it gives him martial. And people of the same religion, especially the church, will like him a hell of a lot. So Duke Herbert of Anjou is going to be a hell of a ruler. I can't wait to play as him. In the background here, we've got a Pope, Pope Marcellus II. Now, he's actually not the Pope. He's an anti-Pope. The Pope in Rome is still here. Karling the Wise, this wonderful person who's now paranoid, probably correctly. This is Marcellus II, a Pope in Mainz. He's an anti-Pope. Any independent ruler in the realm can raise one of their bishops to be a anti-Pope with this button. As you can see, it costs a lot of prestige, and it harms the moral authority of the church by 20%, which we'll get onto in a moment. More importantly, it allows you to excommunicate any character in the realm and protects you from excommunication for any reason. Excommunication is a horrendous thing. It makes your ties can be revoked, decreases your diplomacy, and makes everyone of your religion hate you. So if you get excommunicated as a king, you can declare you an anti-pope, or if you want to excommunicate someone, you can do that. And the AI also just makes them sometimes because they want to. Which would bother me more, except that it did kind of happen in history. There are lots of wars between the Holy Roman Empire and the Pope. The Pope sometimes appointed anti-kings in the same way the Kaiser appointed anti-popes. It doesn't seem terribly fleshed out in some ways, because there was a massive sort of disagreement of the investiture crisis and the Welfs and the Hillerines, so the northern Italian states that were favourable to the Pope versus the Kaiser. But anyway, doesn't go in nearly as much detail as it could, but that's the same with all things, because it's such a massive game. But the Pope will sit there, and he has a claim on the papacy. So the Kaiser can, if he wants, declare war on the Pope and install his Pope as the Pope, which would be make him very powerful. Whilst the Pope is up, the anti-Pope is up, they can have several of them, as you can see. It decreases the moral authority every month, in addition to the 20% hit for creating them. So the moral authority of the Catholic faith is currently 72.4%. Gets quite a lot for being an organised religion. For holding various holy sites, it doesn't hold Jerusalem, obviously. And it gains other piety from holy wars which have been won, heretics, crusades, the piety of the Pope, the diplomacy of the Pope, and negatives for anti-Pope and so on. As you can see, that loss in the crusade at 10% was quite a lot, the anti-Pope's quite a lot. What moral authority does is the higher your moral authority, the less chance of rebels, and the lower moral authority, the higher chance of rebels. Heresies. So probably part of the reason that Matilda of Tuscany became a heretic and her lands became a heretical is because the moral authority wasn't up to scratch. There's also various things that can only be done with high moral authority. There's things you can ask the Pope to do, and crusades can only be done with certain levels. So I can ask for money or for divorces. He won't give it to me because he doesn't like me very much. I don't think you can do those without and you can also ask him to nominate a bishop even when you have papal investiture. Those can only be done with decent amounts of moral authority. For as you probably saw in here, we get a bonus for being an organised religion, 20%. Islam and Christianity are and all the Hindu religions. Sorry, all the Indian religions, Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism, which we haven't touched on because it's all the way over here and doesn't really affect us, except through the butterfly effect, because presumably they occasionally weaken the Muslim realms, who weaken other bits, which allows to crusade and so on and so forth. All the organised religions get this 20% bonus. The unorganised religions, the disorganised religions, are these pagan religions, Tengri, Germanic Sumanesco. These, through a variety of sort of conquering land and declaring things, they can reform their religion ahistorically. It's a bit of a fantasy thing, but it's a nice thing for the rulers who start in those and want to become a sort of more established religion. It was introduced in the Old Gods expansion. They're all unreformed. They have a much harder time with moral authority. And in fact, they need 50% moral authority in order to reform. So they need to have won a lot of holy wars and things like that to do anything. As you can see, the religious map is quite interesting. Lots of Catholicism, as you expect. Pockets of Germanic paganism, Slavic paganism, Romuva. Romuva actually stayed for quite a long time. Lithuania, the Kingdom of Lithuania, which formed here, was pagan for quite a long time. I think it was like 14th or 15th centuries. And there were a few erstwhile named Crusades that went up here, and the Teutonic Order and things like that. They survived quite a while. Sunni Islam is the dominant. There's a bit of West African paganism, Dogon over here. Sunni Islam was quite dominant at this period. Only the Fatimids really were Shiites, and even then, as you may or may not be able to see, whilst the ruling caste, the Fatimids, were Shiites, their vassals were Sunnis or Miaphysites, which is a branch of Christianity. They have their own Coptic Pope in Alexandria. And then there are the other kind of sort of heresies of Sunni and Shiites, Zikri, Druze, and there's Orthodox Nestorian heresies over here. The Nestorians almost ruled, almost sort of took over the Orthodoxy in the Byzantine Empire for some time, which is the Charlemagne start date at 769, if you take it. There's still some pockets of Zoroastrianism amongst the populace, and in some of the earlier start dates you can play as a Zoroastrian. And then Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism are all over here. They exist in a lot more harmony than any others. As you may notice, there's some white patches here and there. These are holy sites. Oh, and of course there's small pockets of Jewish there, Judaism there. The whites are the holy sites, so if you click on any province of a particular religion, you see the holy sites for that religion. So these are the Shiite holy sites. These are the Sunni. They've changed slightly, as you can see, from Baghdad to Al-Najaf. Both of them obviously have Mecca, Medina, Jerusalem, important holy places. Sunni also has Cordoba, which was it's not really a holy site as such, but the holy site is doing sort of double duty. It's both a place of religious significance, Mecca, Medina, Jerusalem, all really important to Muslim faith, but also that Cordoba was a central place of Muslim power, and during the Umayyads, Cordoba was the sort of capital of the golden age of Islam. It was massively wealthy, centre of learning, very wealthy province called Qurtuba, because of the localizations. It's owned by Andalusian Arabics. So it's representing the fact that if this fell, moral authority of the whole faith would go down quite a lot. And in fact, because the Sunnis and Shiites are quite different sects that are obviously quite opposed to each other, that the Sunnis hold Mecca and Medina does reduce the moral authority of the Shiites quite significantly. The Shiites don't really seem to hold any of their holy sites. So that sucks to them. It's probably why they're having quite a bit of issues with Monophysites and Miaphysites over here, and Sunnis. As you can see, there's these cross-hatched bits. These represent areas that are being taken over. So, and the siege of Mekon continues. So it's got these green stripes over here because the Sunnis, which are ruling them, are slowly converting the territory. So it's not good to be Orthodox over there. At this time, we have a strong conception that in popular culture there was a lot of intolerance and that everyone killed all the heretics. That actually waned quite a bit over time. One of the excuses for the Crusades in Jerusalem was that some of the Christians had been kicked out of Jerusalem, whereas before they'd lived in relative harmony for a while. And in fact, when Saladin conquered it, he did quite a lot to foster tolerance again. There's actually some traits that I don't think I can find any right now that signify how tolerant a ruler is towards the religious. Oh, there we go. So this ruler, a Turkish bey or lord, is sympathetic to Christians and sympathetic towards Jews, and that was actually not that uncommon in lots of ways. Especially places like the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople. That became quite well used by lots of Muslims, and I think for some parts of the Ottoman Sultanate, Ottoman Empire, Christians were still welcome, was probably putting a bit strong, but there were obviously large populations of Christians there. Of course, that's not to say there weren't massive periods of intolerance and oppression and cruelty, but it's, as always, things are a bit mixed. We see there's quite a lot of mess over here. All these places that have gone independent. This is probably because the Seljuks became very decadent at some point, or suffered some revolts, and all these places sort of spotty became independent. Oh, and they've become Zikrim themselves, the sultans. Yeah, and the Rumite League has also won a revolt here. So this Beylerbey, Lecce, has become independent from the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum as well. And we're not deceitful. This is dreadful. The Muslims in the game have quite a few different mechanics. The way the heirs work are different. They have this decadence, which is peculiarly implemented. I won't go into it too much because we're not really playing a Muslim. I'll probably play a Muslim game at some point. But basically, it means that the less virtuous your family members are, the less land you own, the less wars you win, the less battles you fight, the higher your decadence. And at high levels of decadence, your vassals can become independent when you die. It is becoming a good one, this one, isn't it? Charitable as well. And you can also get invaded and things like that. It's not the best implemented system in the game, although it is improving slowly over time. And the Armenian Mayaphezites of Edessa are here still, and Cilicia. Oh, that's actually a Cilician Jew who was independent from the Byzantine Empire. So there's quite a bit of a mess over here. I've actually got a feeling that if there was a crusade called now, they might actually succeed. But no such luck. I'm just going to keep besieging over here. I have no idea what my wife is doing with her troops just pottering about. And there's, I don't know if you saw just there was some Holy Order troops just sat there in Pisa and Piombino, presumably trying to besiege badly something. Have they been called into any wars? No. Well, yes, my wife is valiantly striding about here, looking for something to besiege, just wandering about, taking attrition because she's been out of supplies. So unless she starts besieging something, which you can't do because all the provinces are already besieged, she's just going to keep dying and dying. It's a good job I called my wife in. Wasn't that good? Idiot. The AI is sometimes a bit flaky. Oh, there we go. Here's the Holy Order that's been, or something that's been hired by Veglia. Looks a Venetian. She's just pottering about still. Excellent. I'll just keep besieging Macon, and hopefully eventually I'll just take it. So all these other holy wars are all just for territories in Italy. So they shouldn't compete with my war for Macon in the slightest. It's also a third thing that I just saw something about a Prince Archbishop there, so I'm just going to go looking for him. See, there's Prince Bishops that own a single territory, but there's also Prince Archbishops, which in the game are represented, and I could have just gone up here, presumably I'd found it. No, can't find it. In the game, a Prince Archbishop, may have been my imagination, is a ducal rank, so they own a duchy, and also bishops. Yeah, blackmail. It'd be kind of nice, it would get too complicated I think, it would be kind of nice if they has a separate sort of secular and theological rank, ecclesiastical rank, so you could have a Prince Archbishop who just ruled a county, but was of Archbishop rank. But that's just not the case. In this game, any ducal bishop is a principal archbishop, which works for most things. And that's just the bits I know about in Christianity. I'm sure every religion and every culture is massively butchered in order to fit things into the schema. Because obviously the game represents a sort of condensed view of feudalism, but it's feudalism in the very Anglo-Frank or Norman sort of way of doing it. Poland, for instance, if I remember correctly, was basically a bunch of principalities which had a nominal king first amongst equals, but nothing quite like the feudalism we represent here, let alone some of the Muslim states, the Byzantine Empire, the Steppes, the Rus, or anything like that. It does well enough to be a fun game, and that's really what's important. No wonder no one's besieging this. So, very difficult. I'm just going to try and hope that my wife will understand that I'm going to siege Ferrara. I will gain ticking war score though, because my war was the Holy War for Burgundy, which is just the county of Macon. And as you can see, initially just the occupation towards the top and the battles I won. At the bottom, there's this controls Burgundy, which was 5% a moment ago. And every several days, that ticks up by 1.25%. So if I wait long enough, I'll just get the land anyway. I'll just win the war. But I'm going to try and speed things up, and I might even get some money or some piety by besieging this heretics land. Oh, and there's a thing happening. The Aquitaine is claiming Navarra? Well, I hope that's just a duchy. It's a county of Navarra. Good. It's just this county of Navarra, because if it was a king, well, she wouldn't be able to press the kingdom anyway. You can only ever press claims for places that are of your level or less, if you're not independent, because unless you're doing an invasion, I think. Otherwise it won't let you. Actually, no, I might be wrong. It might well let you press a claim for a kingdom. But I think it might have to be an invasion. I can't remember. It's been a very long time since I've done it. But if she had pressed a claim for the kingdom of Navarra, she would have become independent from France. Aquitaine, her heir is a boy. Gargamel van Vlaanderen. Ooh, I'm going to have to... I don't know why he would inherit precisely. I thought he'd go to his sister. But I'm going to have to assassinate that man, Prince Aelfwine of England. Because I just need to keep... But no, I'm going to keep him there for now, until I become the Duke of Anjou. Because he probably won't give birth to anything. Because he might die if I'm lucky anyway. But there do go my chances for marrying off to that Duchess. If only I died sooner and become my grandson. Perfectly normal sentence, everyone says in real life. And the assassins have spread to Syria. There's also these events throughout the game. As you can see, that was quite a big overlay. That signifies sort of big story events, crusades, holy orders, things like that. They are really carving Tuscany up for it. And there we go, I have now died. I will now play as the Duke of Anjou if I die, and I'm now the Duke of Berry. And I have an interesting situation now because I'm in Gavelkind, so my first son will gain the Duchy of Berry, and my third son will gain the County of Vermandois. It would be my second son, but my second son already has some land. And he's the heir to the Duchy of Anjou, and it isn't because he's the brother. Sometimes the game doesn't quite forget what to do. Right. Well, I think this is a good time to stop as any, so I'm going to stop here. So next time, hopefully I'll be trying to die as fast as possible and become the Duke of Anjou, so I can marry him off to someone sensible and what I will undoubtedly be married off to. And I'm now married to some commoner, apparently, who has syphilis. So if I'm lucky, I will catch syphilis too. Well, that's a wonderful line to end things on. Bye everyone.